It's no
It's a
fun.
big game, huh?
It is. It's heavy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Giancarlo.
My name's Erica.
And I keep making Erica hold the box. They're heavy. You know, okay, I'll hold it this time.
Is it okay? You okay?
Yeah, it's a little. Oh. This is our review of
Legends of the American Frontier.
Wow. Almost as bad as Felicia.
Take on the role of one of the 8 American legends of the frontier and relive their story as you adventure and forge their destinies. The player with the most victory points at the end wins. This is a 4 to 7 player setup. Each player will choose a character and take their boards, marker, and action cards, and a grit token. 8 random adventure cards will have been placed face down on their corresponding spaces, far west, frontier, and back east, with the rest returned to the box. Each reward card types, which are status, wealth, fame, and happiness, will have the decks created in their spaces with the top card revealed. Next to these will be the hardship deck. The 6 failure decks will also be placed nearby, alongside the tokens in the respective pools. The fate wheels as well will need to be placed face down and shuffled. The legacy cards should be face up in a pile for all players to see. These are end scoring bonus, which might affect your strategy. Determine who looks the grittiest and give him the first player marker. You're now ready to build your story. Sort of.
Yes, before the game begins its usual rounds, there will be a one-time upbringing stage which demonstrates your character's skill accumulated up to the age of 15. These upbringing cards were shuffled and would have been dealt 5 to each player. From these, they would have drafted them, meaning you choose one and pass the rest to the player on the left until one card remains, which would go back in the box. Now let's assume these are the cards that each player drafted. Each player will take any tokens or rewards and adjust their skill dials based on the cards they drafted. They are personality, knowledge, fight, frontier, providence, and capitalism. These will help you through your adventures ahead.
The adventure stage will be the game's most played and repeated stage. The 3 phases in this stage are represented by days, which begin at sunrise, daytime, and evening. When first starting the adventure phase, the first player will set adventures by placing the top card of each deck face up in their first respective space. They'll also place a fate wheel on each space with the one back east revealed. These can have good or negative effects on the adventure. Lastly, each player will be dealt 7 skill cards. The sunrise phase will be skipped the first round. Should an adventure reach a space where the fate wheel icon is, turn it face up. If it would move up from the topmost space, it is discarded along with the fate wheel token. Should an area not have an adventure, reveal one in the bottom space, placing a fate wheel token as well. But as stated, this phase is skipped the first round.
Daytime will have each player choose one of their 4 action cards and place it face down in front of them. These will determine if a player wants to go back east, frontier, far west, or rest. Players can discuss where they are going, as some adventures require more than one player to achieve, more on this later, but are not bound by their word. When all have chosen, reveal them and place your character marker on the appropriate space, or on their player board if rest was chosen. Now, from right to left, characters and locations must attempt the adventure there.
Every character there will attempt the same adventure, whether it's a group one or a solo one as denoted by these icons. Starting with back east first and then player order. First thing, if any fate wheel token are face down, reveal them and implement their effect. Then players will play a card or cards to match the skill required or trump of the adventure there. A player can play a single and only one skill card denoted by this banner of the required skill. Alternatively, they may play any multiple American Ingenuity cards of that skill required. A player may substitute part of their set with luck cards, but only when at least one card of the American Ingenuity set has the skill to be tested present. Then add your character's skill point in the particular skill. Lastly, the top card of the skill deck is flipped over. This is called the Destiny Deal. Regardless of what type of skill is shown, the number is added to your total thus far. If a trump, wild, or luck has been drawn, draw an additional card, and repeated for each of those cards drawn. A player may also choose to discard one grit token to discard a Destiny Deal and draw a new one. When the sum is totaled, we repeat the process for any other player, in order, attempting that adventure.
Now for solo missions, the player with the highest total wins it. They'll gain any reward listed on the card, as well as the card itself for their legend or story. All other successful players get nothing. However, should a player not have succeeded by having less skill than required, they'll suffer a penalty as listed on the bottom right corner. Some will have you draw from a failure type card or even a hardship. Some remain in your legend while others have negative effects. For group mission, success is gauged by having all the players total their score and see if they succeed. However, here, though failure works the same for everyone involved, their rewards are a little different. The player with the highest total chooses one reward, it can be the card itself, or the others listed here. The second highest chooses his, and so on. What's good to remember is that a player may choose to spend 2 grit tokens to not draw any penalty or hardship cards for failing an adventure. When all adventures are dealt with, each player involved draws back up to 7, and we resolve any character that rested.
Resting characters will first choose to either draw 4 cards, discarding any excess over 7, or take a grit token. Which we forgot to mention, you can spend 3 to increase a skill up 1. Then they exchange 2 reward for 1, and lastly buy a reward card should they wish to. When all players have acted, we move on to the evening phase. First, here you'll check for the endgame trigger, which we'll get to soon. If it hasn't been triggered, in player order, they can buy a reward card. Then, first player token passes to the next player in clockwise order, and a new sunrise phase starts. The endgame is triggered in one of 2 ways. An adventure needs to be added to any location, and there are none, or 2, the reward or hardship deck is depleted. Then players count their score. First, give the legacy awards to the players that meet the criteria: most health, happiness, fame, status cards, most of each location adventure cards, most total adventure cards, etc., etc. Then each player totals their points as listed on the bottom left corner of their cards. You can also briefly state your story, and award the player with the best story 5 extra points, but this is optional. The player with the most is the American legend.
I absolutely love this game's artwork. From the box cover, the ones in the rulebook, the cards, the first player token, every piece is like an oil painting from that period. It's absolutely fitting with the theme. The components are plentiful and top-notch, from the character board wheels that are stable to these heavy grit tokens. That said, however, I would have liked an organizer insert to fit all these cards and organize everything. Now, these 2 pros I mentioned weirdly set up the first con. And that is that it gives this game a certain expectation where you'll have more decisions to make. But really, the choices are limited tactically. Besides the 3 locations to choose from and gaining grit tokens or slightly adjusting your hand with the rest action, there's not much else to really do. And all these mentioned rely heavily on a lot of luck. But the grit tokens can be used to mitigate this, so only a half-point penalty. But should the luck not be on your side, it can be extremely punishing with the hardship or penalty cards. But in the long run, the game does have strategy based on the legacy award cards, so try and plan accordingly by keeping an eye on every other player's tableau. The whole storytelling aspect definitely fits with the theme of, well, Legends of the American Frontiers, but I found it interesting, however, that there are no historical synopses for the characters. The theme is already not for everyone. I thought it would have been better to get non-Americans involved a little more with character synopsis. Definitely not a deal breaker, but another half-point penalty. And that semi-storytelling aspect made this game feel more of a hybrid of a jack-of-all-trades that I don't feel reached its full potential. Still, it was an interesting concept, so I'm going to award it a half point. There is some player interaction. The group adventure will force you to discuss with other players, and though the game says you don't have to honor your word, we found it best by playing with a gentleman's word of agreement, since betraying people can really remove the fun since the penalties are so severe. Also, some American Ingenuity cards can be used to affect other players instead of their printed values, so pro point for player interaction. I don't think this game is for everyone, but if you like this part of history and you want to build a story for casual experiences, Legends of American Frontiers might be for you. For us, it scores a 6.5 out of 10.